Hello, everyone, and welcome. Oh, let's see, the camera is a little off already. Maybe there, that way, that way. No, here. Welcome, everyone, to Torah with, I'm your host, Rabbi Anibal. Great to have you. And I see already people online, and believe it or not, I have people in person, people who came to join me here at the Asper Jewish Community Center in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. So we welcome Jerome, welcome Leon, welcome Shelly. Let's see if somebody else shows up. This is very cool. Very cool. Last time I was talking to an empty table and uh, a packed virtual classroom. Now it's nice that we have a nice balance. So let's see who is here. Let's see who is here. We have Karen Farkas, New Digs. What is Digs? New Digs? Digs. What is a dig? What am I missing? Let me know, Karen. It's some kind of slang. And Per Goldman is here. And Brendan David Grossman says, hi, everyone. Donna Alden Bugnett. Sorry, it's Nurse Donna. Welcome. Christine Reyes. And can you show the live group? I could. Oh, I maybe I could, but the problem is I have the camera is fixed. Let's see if I can change the camera and do that for you. No, I can't. Okay, hold on. I'll try to do something for the sake of everybody who wants to see the group here. Okay, we're gonna do this. That is Leon. Say hello.
Hi, everyone.
People here is Jerome. That's Shelly. Shelly Chachinov is here again. Jerome. Cookie is here, but she won't stay. Are you staying, Cookie? Leon. So yeah, we have. So so what I'm doing is I'm streaming from my iPhone, right? I have this whole thing here that the iPhone is connected to the Mac computer, and I have a special app in the phone and in the computer that I can connect the two together. It's a great thing because I'm looking at myself on the screen and it looks like I'm having a fancy mirrorless camera, but I don't. It's just an iPhone. In these days, I have the latest one. The cameras are so sophisticated that the image is quite amazing. Quite amazing. So it's very easy to move, very easy to bring from home and everything else. So, yeah. So welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Thank you, Christine. We are going to study Parsha Beahalotecha, and I love the beginning of the Parsha. It's talking about the menorah. The menorah that we used to have in the temple, and it used to be the pure gold. And I don't know if you know, guys, and I look at all of you, the story of the menorah. God gave Moses the instruction to build the menorah, okay? And it was one of those times that, according to the Midrash, Moses didn't know what to do, didn't understand the instructions. So God has to actually show Moses the finished product, like in a vision. And then Moses says, okay, thank you, I get it now. And then Moses was able to explain to the artisans, to the artist, how to build a menorah. But he didn't know. He didn't know at the beginning, so God had to show him. And why was it so sophisticated? Why was it so difficult? Because the menorah has to be made out of one single piece. It wasn't different pieces attached to each other. It has to be from one solid piece, molded to accommodate all these how you call it, arms for the candelabra, right? So it looks like it was very difficult to conceptualize that, but eventually they did it. It was part of the tabernacle. Later on, was part of the temple, and it was stolen from there. They are actually drawings and of the Romans stealing it, and then we never saw it again. It was probably used with something else. I don't know. I don't know. Same with the Ark of the Covenant, right? That it was lost for how many years until Indiana Jones found it. I don't know. No, actually, those biblical things. So the Torah of this, uh, Karen Farkas says digs is slang for home or accommodation. Okay, so yeah, I'm here at the campus, in front of the cafeteria. We could have noise at any time, but I don't know. I feel like when you are teaching Judaism, there is noise around. It kind of reminds me of a yeshiva, so I like it. Yeah, I like the noise. It's like a yeshiva. You go to yeshiva, you have 1,000 people studying different things. Everybody's yelling and everyone is studying. So let's try to imagine that we're in a yeshiva. So we are going to talk about Parshat Beahalotecha, and there are a few things that I learned about it. But let me bring the text first, and then I will explain what I'm talking about here. Okay? So I'm gonna do like this. Let me. Where are you? Here. So let's talk. Let me read it first, and then we'll talk about it. Very beginning of the parsha. Very beginning of the parsha. It says, Hashem, which is one of the names of God that we use, said to Moses, "Tell Aaron, when you set up the lamps, the 7 lamps are to cast their light forward in front of the menorah." Aaron did this. He lit its lamps so as to give light in front of the menorah, as God had ordered Moses. Okay? Few things here. Number one, the translation, and if you go to any Bible, the translation is going to be pretty much the same. Either when you set up the lamps or when you light the lamps. But the word in Hebrew is different. The word in Hebrew is Beahalotecha, and you probably know this word coming from la alot. Have you ever heard the word aliyah? When you go to Israel, so you make aliyah. What is aliyah? Why aliyah to Israel? Up. Up. Yeah, when you move to Israel, you're going up. You're going up. It's a it's considered like a spiritual ascension, right? And when you leave Israel, let's say that you live in Israel for many years, and then you leave Israel and you go to live to the diaspora, you call it yerida. You're going down. Laredet. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course. But that's Jerusalem. Yeah, one of the things that we have to work out for future classes is to have all the microphones for people here. It's doable. It's doable. I need a little mixer with 2 3 mics, and then but then it would be more noise, right? But anyway, so I will try to repeat what you say. Yeah, that Shelley was saying that you have to imagine that Jerusalem is also on a hill. So the when you say making aliyah, it's also physically going up. Okay. Anyway, unless you go to the Dead Sea, then you're going down. So that's it supposed to be one of the lowest points in the planet. Anyway, but let's try to understand. Let's try to understand why the Torah will say when you light the candles, but actually say when you elevate the lights, right? It's not clear why the Torah is using that language. See you tonight. Okay. You see, we have people coming and going here, so I may say hello here and there. Um, that was the dad of the bar mitzvah for this weekend. That we have dress rehearsal tonight. So one of the reasons why we said Be'alotcha, it's physically to light the menorah. Aaron or his sons or other priests in the future will have to go up a stool, right? So you have to step on the stool and then you light the menorah. So basically, what the Torah is saying, when you go up to light the menorah, you understand the concept? It wasn't just, and which is interesting is if you look at the blueprint of the menorah, it wasn't tall at all. It would be very easy to stay on the ground and to light it. But the design was made in a way that they will have to go up the ladder and to light it from uh, from the top, facing down, and not from the ground facing up. No, it looks like almost like it has like some kind of screen that it will project the light to a specific place. Okay, so that's another thing, and it looks like it was like the light has to go out of the window, which in reality the windows are designed for the opposite, right? To capture the light. But this one is because is the wish that the light will illuminate the outside as well as the inside. So the menorah is a symbol of illuminating the world, and that's why he uses that message. And also the fact that he's talking about Beahalotecha is also understood that the elevation is not just as they light the menorah, but is the light is a light that help us elevate ourselves. So that's that's the concept. Yeah, but and the other thing is, why do you have to go up the ladder to turn on the menorah? The rabbis also teach that human nature is welcome, Randy. Nature is to try to do the minimum effort to get the maximum return, right? We used to have somebody working at the synagogue that used to say, sometimes the juice doesn't justify the squeeze, right? And then you don't do it. And then you don't do it because it's too much work and very little return, right? Anyway, but I like it. I like the thing. And for most of the things in our lives, that works well. But for the menorah, was almost like God didn't want people to do the lazy way, which is stay in the ground, step on your toes and do it. No, it takes another 15 seconds, go up the ladder and do it the proper way. I discuss and I fight with my son about this all the time, right? He needs to do a project and he goes with a black marker and he does his drawing. And I said, I'm done. I said, no, you're not done. Use some color. I said, well, it doesn't say anything about color. It just said do the picture, and I'm pretty sure the teacher will be fine with this, right? And I said, no, because you can do it better. You love colors and you know how to do it. So don't do the lazy way to just do the drawing. They have to. Sorry, I have to. That's my son's teacher. She just walked there. Yeah, that's. I hope she didn't hear that. Yeah, but sometimes it's good because you need to know not everything is equally important in life. You can say yes to everything. If you say yes to everything, that means that you will start by default you will start saying no to things because we have limited resources. So some of the things you have to think small, but important things you have to do it properly. And here is a big teaching that lighting the menorah with everything that it represents, it has to be done properly. Don't do the lazy way. Do it in a way that it will show that is something important. Okay. So many things do it that way. It could not be delegated. It has to be done by the priest. It's too important. There are certain things in life that you cannot delegate. That is also something that we have to learn. You know that when God gave the Levites instructions to move the things for the tabernacle from place to place, there were three families that they were in charge of moving things. Two families were in charge of moving the columns, the walls, the vessels. So God gave them oxen and carts to move things. But there was one family that they were in charge of moving the menorah and the holy things. And to them, God didn't give them anything. I said, because you have to take them on your shoulders. Because the holy things are not to be delegated. So this is some things you can do the lazy way, but some important things you have to do it properly and you have to do yourself. Okay? So this was one of the things. And not only that, that the rabbis have a very interesting so Donna, you cannot read it from there? Is the Hebrew is with the Nikudim. or nekudot. Is there. It's there. I don't know if it's not big enough. Then maybe if you're watching on a phone, yet it's too small. You need like a full size computer, right? So yeah, I wanted just to make it clear. The other thing that the rabbi said is that the language of those first verses implies that the priest never lost the passion that they had at the beginning. Let's see more about that in the next text. You see what it says? Aaron did this as Hashem has ordered Moses. Okay. According to Rashi, that means he did not change. Same passion that he had at the beginning, he had it the second day, the day after, and so forth. And there is some. This is also something that is speaking or talking to our human nature. We all know people that they have so much passion at the beginning, right? And they yeah, it's not just run out of steam; they run out of motivation, right? They had the motive because if human beings they have the right motivation, you do it. You find a way. How they say, if there is a will, there is a way. But if you don't have the will, right? And then we drop it. Then we drop it. That's why, for example, and I will give you an example. I feel very passionate about this class, the Torah. But some people don't realize that I've been doing it for 20 years, right? Torah Chaim. Yeah. Shelley, Shelley is remembering the days when we used to stay after services on Saturday studying Torah. That's how it started. Okay, that's how it started, and then eventually it evolved into nicer printouts and fancier texts, and we could take notes because it wasn't Shabbat. Yeah, and then then the whiskey. I would say then the whiskey came, right? You guys, you're online. You have no idea. We used to have the finest whiskeys and scotches that sometimes people will bring to the class. Because when I started the class, it used to be called Torat Chaim. Torat Chaim. And then when the whiskey came, we changed it to Torah Lechaim. Because we used to start with the Lechaim and then we'll start Torah. It was fascinating. Now I have to just settle with water because here at the campus they have no alcohol policy. But anyway, it was fun. I'm very passionate, but it doesn't mean that I didn't have to find ways to get motivated to keep going. My ways were always looking for new text, uh, taking different classes. Yeah, and then believe it or not, when I had to switch to online, it was also a boost of motivation because I have an excuse to do something new about something that it was old. So I did it. And now the new thing is how we do it hybrid. And you will see. This is the second time that I do it this way. And little by little, it's going to be improving. There's a board that I'm on, and we do hybrid meetings. You can do hybrid meetings. Right, we need microphones so you can talk. But we'll try next time. Okay, so back to Aaron. We see that Aaron somehow found the motivation to keep doing exactly the same thing. Can you imagine doing exactly the same thing every day of your life until you die? Can you imagine? Yes and no. Maybe not for me, but I can see it in some of the other people that I have grown up with and known. And it's their passion, their motivation, their yeah. Some people do it. Absolutely. Yeah, some people do it. I mean, there are certain things that we are doing it and we don't even think about it. Like we brush our teeth every morning, right? We do it and we're going to do it until we die or until we don't have more teeth, right? And or until we can do it, then somebody else will do it for us. But we don't because we don't even think about it. And so because we are not thinking about it, there is no kavanah, there is no intention, it's mechanical. But what Rashi is saying here is the next level. He said, no, 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 no. He was aware that he was doing it. And he found ways to keep that kavanah, that motivation intact without making it mechanical. Okay, it's a challenge for all of us. But Judaism is like that. We have to find a way to keep your Jewish life motivated, and they are, and it's interesting. There are places that they are more, what's the word, conducive to that than others, and in different places. Like, let's be honest, being Jewish in Toronto is probably easier than being Jewish in Winnipeg. Here, you have to really do your research to find everything you need to follow a observant Jewish life. We don't have a butcher, right? And the stock in different supermarkets changes all the time, right? So it's not easy. If you live in Toronto, live in New York, you live in Jerusalem. Well, I remember when I went to Israel, when I came back here to Winnipeg, I was miserable because then I have to go back to the effort to find everything. And then I said, this is something that I was thinking at the time. God forbid something happened and I don't have the motivation, it would be very easy for me to drop Jewish practice. And unfortunately, I will say there is a little bit of that on the way many people observe their Judaism. They used to do so many things, and now they don't. Why? Because it's so difficult that if God forbid something happens, a challenge, a struggle, a problem. Also, COVID did as well. That's why it's so difficult for us to bring people back to the synagogue. They, uh, anyway, let's see how it's going to be in the future. But we need people to find or to renew their ways to keep themselves motivated, the same way Aaron did with the menorah, because I don't think that comes naturally. It's not human nature. It can come naturally for a while. Then you still need to find ways to stay just to stay motivated. So I'm saying, welcome, Lee Solomon. Welcome to the class. Let's continue. Let's continue. Next text. Okay, listen to this text. So, how can we understand that Aaron didn't change? Okay, that he did not change. Well, one answer is that the words he did not change do not refer to Aaron's behavior. What the Torah is addressing is Aaron's personality. Although he was given such a great honor and holy task to perform on a daily basis, he did not change. He remained humble and subservient to God. A second approach is that when a person does something exciting or important for the first time, they do it with great enthusiasm. This is what we are going to talk. We were talking, right? First time, it's so exciting, so exciting. As time goes on, and they repeat the job every day, the glitter fades, and they perform the task without any gusto, practically by rote. Aaron lit the holy candelabra every day for 39 years, and yet every single day he did not change from the level of excitement and dedication he felt on day one. We should learn from this approach to do our daily mitzvot, our daily commandments, with enthusiasm and a high level of devotion to God. Okay, it's very interesting. So, Amparo Goldman, let's see what you have to say. Amparo said, we should be enlightened with Torah that the reason was not given to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but it was delayed to the Exodus from Egypt. Yeah, well, that's another thing that's interesting, that the Torah was not revealed until many generations after, right? And they say, how could Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob stayed motivated and connected to God without Torah? Have you ever thought about that? How was it possible for them? Yeah, well, that's one thing, and that's why Hasidism insists that we should talk to God 1 hour a day outside synagogue. So for them, the daily minyan doesn't count. You know, if you say, no, 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 I talk to God every day. I go to Shachrit, Mincha, Mariv. No, doesn't count. Because when you go to synagogue, and come on, you have to be honest with me here, how many really pray when you go to synagogue? I find it very difficult. I have to look at the chat. I have to go look at my music. I have to look at my outline, right? I have to try to remember the joke I'm going to tell for the sermon, right? I have to be sure that the sound is not too loud. I have to look at to be sure the cameras are working, okay, and the people are having a good time. So synagogue is not necessarily the best place for me to talk to God, but I talk to God on daily basis outside synagogue. Yeah, they call it vekus and hitbodedut. They call it hitbodedut, and to develop the concept of vekus. The vekus is coming from, if you know any Hebrew, any modern Hebrew, how do you call glue in modern Hebrew? The glue that you use at school, how do you call it? No, no, no. In Hebrew, in Hebrew. Come on, guys. You want it at home? You know? Do you know it? Do you know it? How you call it? Ah, Leon is googling it. Cheater. Now you can do it. That's okay. That's okay. It's called debek. Debek. Debek means glue. So, so what does it mean? Devekut, gluing yourself to God. Okay, that is a Hasidic concept, but it also they do hit vodedut, which is this thing that they go to the woods or somewhere, some quiet space, usually in nature, just to talk to God. And then, yeah, if you look, yeah, and then that's perfect. That's Shelly saying that she goes to nature to talk to God. But it's if you watch Stiesel, the if you watch Stiesel on Netflix, it's a Netflix or Amazon, I can't remember. Netflix, you will see that there is one episode that this Hasid, he goes to the woods and you got other people there praying to God, and there is one that is like moving like this, and he said tate tate tate, father in Yiddish, tate tate, and then it starts screaming, and even there are other two Hasidim that they're walking there and they're actually trying not to laugh about the way, but the other guy, he was so detached from he couldn't even realize that there were other people laughing at him. He was actually talking to God, not in synagogue, not with a siddur, not with a prayer book, but talking to God. You have to do it every day. So they said, talking about what? Well, the Hasidim said it's very easy. When you talk to God, you have to imagine that you're having a conversation with your best friend. That's it. And they won't give you any more advice than that. And I think it's very profound. Yeah, you believe that God listens, and then you talk to God. So the rabbis explained that the two things are important: coming to synagogue, because that's strengthening community, and we need faith in God, but we also need faith in the community, in the sense that there's that sense of belonging, and that you are there for the community, and the community is there for you, in the same way that you are there for God, to be a messenger of God, but God is there for you at the same time. Okay, the both things are important: praying in the synagogue and praying to God. That's why they all joke, right? That Goldberg goes to synagogue to talk to God. I come into synagogue to talk to Goldberg, right? So, but that's the thing. That's the thing. Okay, let's go to the next text. Let's go to the next text. Now, let's move to another topic now, and this is about the fact that the Israelites will move from place to place for 40 years. Well, you remember the episode. You know what happened, right? With the spies. And even before the spies, they have this uh, commandment that they were not allowed to move until the miraculous cloud will move. That miraculous cloud, okay, let me read it here. This is Numbers chapter 9, verse 19. It says, When the cloud lingered upon the tabernacle many days, the children of Israel would maintain the charge of God and will not journey. And as soon as the clouds start moving, they will move after the cloud. They will follow. Okay? Kind of off topic, but it's also part of the topic. That cloud, the Anan, Anan is the Hebrew word for cloud, that Anan is described by the rabbis as the real Sukkah. So in Sukkot, when we celebrate the Sukkah, they say that we are actually talking about the cloud that it was protecting the Israelites in the desert. Because we don't have the cloud anymore, we build a physical sukkah. Also because it was something that it was used by the Israelites at the time of the harvest once they entered to the land of Israel. So because it was like the two things together. So yeah, we build the same thing that the farmers used to build during the harvest, but it also represents the cloud. Because try to think about this. How could they build a sukkah in the desert? It would probably be more like a tent, right? Not like a sukkah. We don't know. Sometimes it's called ananei hakavod, the clouds of glory. But it was they supposed to. The Talmud will talk extensively about it. The Talmud will talk extensively about it, and they will say that will protect the people, and they will also get rid of all the dangers along the way. If there were scorpions or snakes, the cloud will take care of that. Okay, we can't imagine it, but that's what it is, the cloud. So here is a explicit reference of the cloud, and we know that when the cloud was there, they stay. When the clouds start moving, they will have to move. They have to. Okay, very important to understand. Now, that also has a teaching. Okay, and let's start with that. It says, and I'm quoting now the Nachmanides or the Ramban with an N at the end. Don't confuse with Maimonides. The Rambam with an M. Okay, this is Nachmanides. And he said, listen to this. At times, the cloud would tarry specifically in a location that it was unpleasing to the nation. Imagine this. Sometimes the cloud will stay there in a very uncomfortable place. Why? We don't know why. It would just stay there. And people will say, okay, come on, move. Take us to a better place, right? But the cloud won't move. It will stay there. Yeah, let's continue with Nachmanides. He said, a place from which they desire to depart. Okay? Nevertheless, because of their relationship with God and his indication that they should not travel, they did not. Similarly, if after a couple of days' rest they were tired and weary, they still followed the dictates of the cloud. There were times that after one night's rest, the cloud started moving on again. A physically taxing charge, or worse, after 2 days at a location when they had finally unloaded their packs with the confidence that this stop will be extended, they will get the signal to pack up and travel again. No, I think the thing here, we have to start. I mean, this is so deep that I think we have to make a stop here and try to figure out why would the cloud behave that way. And we know that the cloud followed God's command. Well, say it again. Oh, hold on. I couldn't. I wouldn't be able to repeat it. Say it again. Say it again.
There's a saying that you can. I wish you all your happiness, but enough grief that you appreciate your happiness.
Okay, Jerome, the sage has spoken. Yeah. But the rabbis explain that there are two different factors there. One is how the people felt. Okay. You are in a place where you feel that is bad. Okay. That's your perception. But at the other side, there is also the intention, God's intention to bring you to that place. And sometimes we are so focused on our feelings that we miss the bigger picture. Every station supposed to have some kind of teaching for them. And the funny thing is that the rabbis explain that sometimes they will have to stay for a long time in an uncomfortable place, and it's because they didn't get the lesson. As soon as they get the lesson, the cloud will move.
But there's another lesson too, Rabbi. Assuming that Hashem is the cloud, and we have faith and belief in Hashem,
Okay.
whatever Hashem does. But the cloud is also telling us don't take Hashem for granted, because the minute you start to take it for granted and become complacent with Hashem, that cloud is going to move.
Yeah. Complacent too is that it's
Or it's going to make you so uncomfortable that you wish you could move.
is that yours?
No.
Oh, yours.
It's
So,
all Mr. Rose.
but it is the belief. It is the belief that sometimes the when we feel that, oh, okay, this place is so good that this should be the final destination, right? And you decide to settle there, and the cloud will move right away. And I believe that that is also human nature, that we are so fast to say, oh, this is good enough, I'll settle with it. And we were not created for good enough, we were created for excellent. And the only excellent in the biblical narration is the promised land of Israel. Anything else along the way, doesn't matter how good it looks, how good it felt, it was not the final destination. It was just a good enough. And sometimes we are so tired that we settle with good enough, even though we know that we can go further, we can do more. But this is easy. I settle with good enough, right? I'm in fact, that is one of my biggest struggles all the time with many people around myself, that I like to keep improving things, and it's good enough. It's good enough. Let's don't do that. It's too much work. Whatever we have now is good enough. I don't work like that. That's not my style.
Once you achieve good enough, then everything starts to go downhill.
So that's why sometimes if people will stay in a place that they say it's good enough, no. Keep moving. It's not good enough. This is not the final destination. Karen Farkas, you have a comment here. Let me see it here. Let me see it. Let me see it. Karen Farkas says, so they will not get too comfortable with their belief that number one, they have control, or number two, they understood Hashem will. Well, we hopefully they understood Hashem will. There is nothing wrong. In fact, it is important, I believe, for us. And this is part of our personal prayer with God. Okay? The Hasidim will say that part of our personal conversation with God is at the end of the day trying to understand God's will. What is in there for me? Okay? Because I know many people. I know many people that they say, I truly believe that everything is from God and everything is for my very good, even if I suffer. Everything is for my very good, but they never try to understand how. And so why not? Well, that's not up to us humans to try to decipher. I believe that there is a plan, but we cannot understand it. And the Hasidim will say, not at all. In fact, that is the highest level of faith, when you can actually read the letter that God is sending you. It's not enough to know that you got mail from God. Faith eventually can help you to read that letter and to understand it. Okay? Because otherwise, so much discomfort and even suffering right? It's okay. I applaud you if you can keep going, because the belief that is coming from God helps you to keep moving forward. But it would be also great if you can understand why you went through something, right? What is the lesson from it? It's very important. It's very important. And that's why I believe that, going back to the thing of the menorah, the relationship that Aaron developed with God was part of the secret of his motivation remaining intact. That's that's what I believe. That's what I believe. Anyway, so if you have any other comments, uh, right there, I would like to hear it. Okay, thank you, Lee Solomon. Thank you so much. So let's continue. I have more. I have uh, another comment about that here. Now, another comment from another rabbi. These exercises, okay, the exercises of moving from one place to another, sometimes a little bit. And by the way, I don't know. I feel sometimes that even staying too long in an uncomfortable place is probably easier than unpacking everything and then you have to move again. Because we humans, and that's I think to a certain level is bad. We
We become comfortable with our discomfort.
Yeah, we learn to accept our our dysfunction. So we are okay having a dysfunctional marriage because we get used to it. We are okay having a
And the alternative
dysfunctionally family.
to think about.
Yeah, because
Or too fearful to think about.
we learn to deal with, just to the point that we don't see it anymore, right? Or working at a dysfunctional workplace to the point that it doesn't affect you anymore, but you still don't
It's a form of procrastination. It's there. I know it's there.
no, but it's going
We don't see it anymore. We
it's
don't deal
it's,
with it anymore.
it's going back to the it's good enough. It's good enough argument. It's never good enough because you can do better on that,
It's like making your bed in the morning when you get
right?
up in the morning.
And I will say that,
Otherwise, you get back into the same bed and you've got the same lumps or the same pieces of the sheets, and you eventually get used to them. You have
and
to make your bed every morning.
and
You
even
start fresh.
yeah, but even if when you stop in those places that they were uncomfortable and the cloud wouldn't move,
That's true.
even if what that is doing is for you to start screaming at God, say, God, please take me out of this place. Hey, what if that was the goal? What if the goal was that you were in so comfortable that you totally forgot God? So I will give you a little bit of discomfort. So you will scream to God, and God said, now you remember that I'm here. Okay, no worry. Hey, cloud, move. Lesson learned. Let's move to the next lesson. But not always, but sometimes that's what it is. Amparo Goldman, you said, if we are even a bit lenient, nature will take revenge and will follow nature's rule. If it doesn't matter if we understand the rules or not. Well, I don't think I believe nature. I believe that nature is also under God's control. But yeah, I understand what you say. Let's continue. I was reading this Rabbi Eliyahu Dessler. He said, these exercises were actually the training program for divine service, a lesson that spans the generations. Many have the faulty notion that when life becomes quiet and serene, then we are free to serve God. Rather, it is only when we learn to acclimate to serve God while carrying life's heavy burdens through extreme conditions that we are truly equipped to accept the Torah. So, Judaism is something that we have to learn to practice when everything goes our way and when nothing goes our way. And you could, and it's interesting that you will see that in many communities that they went through struggles. Think about the Jews in Europe during the pogroms.
Oh, yes.
They have
God was nightmares.
they had every possible excuse you can think to drop their Judaism. When right? in Russia, in Poland. And yet, we remember those generations as some of the most pious and religious generations in Jewish history. Look at the Marranos in Spain. They could actually have such a great life had they dropped completely their Judaism. And yet, even on their suffering, they found ways to continue observing their Judaism. So sometimes these up and downs are a reminder that we could or we should keep our strengthening our relationship with God no matter what. No matter what. In fact, I was reading a book the other day written by a Hasidic Rebbe, and he has a specific chapter. And it's funny that he put it together. He has a specific chapter about what to do Jewishly if you are stuck in a hospital bed or in jail. He put it together. For him, it's the same. Being in jail than being in a hospital bed. Why? He said you're in a situation where you cannot go to work, right? So you don't have to be worried that you have to clean up your house because guests are coming, right? You don't have to pay bills, right? All those things that, well, sometimes some of our excuses is, so I don't have time to talk to God because I have all other things to do. I have to go to work. I have to deal with a crusty boss, right? Terrible coworkers. My marriage is, I fight at home all the time, right? My children, they misbehave. They're in drugs, whatever. So it's so difficult. So I don't have time to talk to God. I say, okay, what if for any reason you're in a situation with all those problems go away because you're either stuck on a hospital bed, or God forbid you were thrown to jail. What do you do? And he was saying, this rabbi, that at least use that opportunity to develop a relationship with God. Because now you have the time and no distractions. You have all the time in the world to talk to God. It's very interesting. So again, I'm just putting it in a nutshell. It's way more sophisticated than that, but he put an entire chapter on that, and on how to do that. It was it's very interesting. Yeah, you can get it. It's called the book. It's called The Garden of Emunah by Rabbi Shalom Arush. It's an Israeli rabbi. He talks about that. Okay, and Para Goldman, and you said, for this reason, the laws of Torah are as identical to nature law as two drops of water. Interesting. Interesting that you see it that way. Okay. Okay. So let's continue. Let's continue. So I wanna skip this. I wanna go to this one here. The next verse that I want to talk to you. Very famous one. Very famous one. This is when Miriam, Moses' sister, criticizes Moses for marrying an Ethiopian woman. Okay? So this is the way it goes. Miriam and Aaron, the two of them, Miriam and Aaron, began criticizing Moses on account of the Ethiopian woman that he had married, for he had in fact married an Ethiopian woman. They said, is it true that God has spoken only with Moses? Hasn't he spoken with us too? And God heard them. God answered Moses. Uh, but so this is what happened. Miriam gets punished with leprosy, right? But Moses prays to God, and she was healed. She was completely healed. In El Narefanala, in fact, is the shortest prayer in the Bible. And that goes to show you that a proper prayer doesn't have to be 3 hours. Okay? An hour and 1 hour long service works fine. You don't believe me? Ask Moses. He said El Narefanala, and she was healed. He didn't have to daven Shachrit and then Musaf, right? For it to be heard. Just a few words and she was healed. And so, and the funny thing is, after she was healed, because she had leprosy, she still had to go through a purification period outside of the camp. And then God said to Moses, if her father as merely spit in her face, wouldn't she hide herself in shame for 7 days? Okay, so let her be shut out of the camp for 7 days. After that, she can be brought back in. And that is something very interesting that it doesn't tell you much, but I will show you in a minute that the rabbis learned a halachic principle and a Jewish law principle from that little passage there, and how to calculate punishments based on that. Because the rabbis, every time that the Torah mentions a punishment for something, they try to say, okay, can we learn a general principle and apply that principle to the other transgressions? Okay, what did she do? The analogy says, if her father had merely spit in her face, okay, would she hide herself in shame for 7 days? I guess that's what it is. If her father spits on your face, you should feel ashamed for 7 days. Okay, so here it says, uh, but now that she had leprosy, not only the father spat on her face, she had leprosy. She should go out of the camp for 7 days. And then the first reaction you might have is, whoa, 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 hold on. That should be worse punishment, right? For having leprosy than just having your father spitting on your face. Why is it also 7 days? What is the teaching there? Let's see that. This is fascinating. So, listen to this. If a father's wrath will result on a 7 day quarantine, okay, surely God's wrath should result in at least 14-day punishment. This is the Talmud, okay? And here the Talmud is trying to apply a Talmudic principle called Kal Vachomer. Kal Vachomer means something like even more so. How does it work? It's very simple. If I say, well, if we are here at the Asper campus, just looking at the gymnasium, right? If a bodybuilder cannot lift a weight set, Calva Homer, my 9 years old, right? Right. Do you understand the principle here?
Yeah, sure.
Even if a bodybuilder cannot lift it, even more so, a little kid, right? So that is something logical, absolutely logical. So sometimes the rabbis rely on oral law to know what to do, but most of the time they don't rely on oral law in the Talmud. They rely on seichel. Let's call it sevara, when they rely on their intelligence to figure out a principle based on something else written in the Torah. So here they are trying to use Kal Vachomer even more so. I said, if a father wrath gives you a punishment of 7 days, God's wrath will give you at least 14 days. Kal Vachomer, even more so, right? Now, listen to this. What the rabbi says. So hold on. Let me go back. It says, a law, the rabbis teach, a law that is derived by Kal Vachomer, a fortiori conclusion, can be only as strict as the baseline law from which it is derived and not go beyond it. Okay? Therefore, even as consequence of God's reprimand, surely more potent than the father's rebuke, would also warrant only to be a 7 days punishment. And that's why God said only 7 days. Because you should never start trying to make those calculations. If this kind of punishment mentioned in the Torah gives you 7 days, I consider that what you did is more severe, so I will give you 14 days. And I will say, based on what? Do you have a precedent in the Torah for that specific punishment? I said, no, I'm learning from the other one. You're not allowed to do that. If you don't have a specific punishment for that specific thing, you cannot try to guess it from something else. and that was resolved. That was decided in the Talmud. That's why the rabbis sometimes struggle to calculate punishment time for certain things. Okay, just wanted to do it there. So and oh, 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock. But the other thing that I wanted to mention about this, and is the episode with Miriam making that comment. Okay,
Right.
about the Moses' wife, the fact that he married an Ethiopian woman, it was considered the very first episode of Lashon Hara, of gossip in the Torah, and the severe punishment that she had, that she got leprosy, it was purposely
Punishment.
presented to let us know how bad it is to talk about other people, to spread gossip. Okay, gossip, by the way, in Hebrew, the most common word that is used is rehilut. A rahil is a gossiper, a gossiper, the person who goes around. Rahil, and what they do is rehilut. So you would say, okay, but what is lashon hara then? If it's rehilut, why do we call it lashon hara? Lashon means tongue, hara bad, so bad tongue or evil tongue. Okay, what the rabbis in the Talmud then they will codify saying that, and I will do it like this, that rehilut is when what you are spreading is true. Okay, okay, but nevertheless, it's gossip. Why are you going
It
around?
doesn't matter if it's true or if it's not true.
No, it does matter. It does matter if it's true. The category is called rehilut, and it's punishable. Okay, and it's because the reason why we do it is because we want somebody else to think poorly about somebody.
And you're not supposed to do that. But that's
Yeah, even though the information that you're presented is true, but why do you have to do it? What is your motivation for doing it? Right? It's a bad motivation. But that's rehilut. Lashon hara is when not only you have a bad motivation, but the information you present is false, which is a worse category. And then Maimonides will say that there is a even a higher or lower category. There is Baal Lashon hara, which is somebody who all they do day and night is gossiping. And that is the worst thing you can do, being a Baal Lashon hara.
Rabbi, isn't there something in Torah? I think we covered it a couple of months ago that says you are not supposed to publicly shame or embarrass
Yeah, yeah,
anyone.
yeah. That's the other thing. But it's separate from Rehilut Lashon hara. Is the prohibition of embarrassment.
Okay.
But yes, usually when we spread gossip, we are trying to embarrass somebody in front of somebody else. So that's why the prohibition of Lashon hara is not only for the one who spread the gossip, but for the one who's listening to it. So if somebody comes with gossip to you, you have to stop them on their tracks. Okay, okay. So so it goes for both. Okay, and thank you so much for participating
Thanks for the
today, and thank you all of you online. This is great. This is great. So we have people online, people in person. If you happen to be in Winnipeg, you can come to the Asper campus. They will have a great cafeteria here. And so just look at who was it? Jerome was eating French fries. Shelly was eating, what is it? The apple something. Apple Jacks.
basically an
Applejack. Applejack.
famous,
So
famous for our
Leon and I were drinking water, but you can do that. So next time, if you can make it in person, make it in person. So thank you so much, everyone. And remember, this class is going to be restreamed at 8 p.m. Central Time. Okay, tonight, 8 p.m. So give us the thumbs up, share the video if you can, and hope to see you next week when we are going to present another session of Torah L'Chaim here from the Asper campus in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Please stay safe. Hope to see you soon. Bye, everyone.